All right. This is the morning drift. It is on Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. A day when our Kenyans are looking at what looks like drama between the president and his CS for health, Mithika Linturi. The president has promised Kenyans that all the culprits who are selling fake fertilizer to farmers are going to face the full force of the law. A CS is still adamant that there's no fake fertilizer in the market, what it describes as fertilizer that doesn't meet the standards, that we don't have fake fertilizer. At this time, some of the culprits have been apprehended and facing the full force of the law, hopefully, according to the president. But a CS is saying, there's no fake fertilizer. We look at that this morning and ask the question, who's telling the truth? Well, the president and the CS seem to be reading from different scripts. Also this morning, 70% of students in Nairobi go to private schools. Is it a case of dire neglect that has pushed majority of parents to consider private schools as the source of education for their kids? Also, we asked that question this morning, including conversations around what's going on in the political parties in the country. That plan for Musalia Mudavadi to fool the ANC looks as if it's taken proper direction now. Whether the likes of Moses Wetangula decide to go that direction as the party ready to sell for its primaries as from the 26th is still a wait-and-see approach. Who's comfortable with this? Who's not comfortable with this? We talk about that this morning. What I do know is that we are officially then inside the morning drift as it is. We take a tiny breather. We come back with the newspaper review. My name is Simba. Elijah Charles here. This is Lookuptv. Well, let's start with the Daily Nation then. Musalia Mudavadi to fold the ANC and grant UDA plan. And you can see exactly what it is. In the past, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has opposed plans to have more deputies in UDA, and once party constitution changed, it's a story that has been covered on page 415. Picture here of Moses Wetangula, who is still adamant to take ANC's direction. Whether it's going to fold for Kenya party is still a thing that has to be seen. Well, story has been covered on page 4 and 5. We talk about this. We talk about that this morning on a big conversation. All right, on this particular one now, let's cross over to page 7, where patients' agony as medics take to streets. Doctor strike enters officially day 26th, isn't it? Which is essentially the fourth week, of the medics being in the street. That story has been covered on page 7. So here on page 2, performances light up schools drama festival. And if you have no plan for this weekend, then you actually make your way all the way to Embu, where that particular festival is currently ongoing. Yesterday we did see the story here that is covered of Olo Laimaitia School in Narok, who stole the show of the first day of the 62nd Kenya Schools and Colleges Drama and Film Festival with a colorful Maasai dance that centered around human-wildlife conflict. For the lovers of drama like us, we shall be there this weekend just to catch a couple of stage performances. Good. There's on the back page of the Daily Nation, there's a story here of Real Madrid on high alert as champions Manchester City come calling in first leg of quarterfinals tonight. Arsenal welcome Bayern Munich. Story has been covered on page 39. It's a very first time Arsenal going to play in the quarterfinals of this competition. They've been in hot form this most definitely. They look like they can outdo Bayern. And remember tonight, Bayern have no single fan at the Emirates Stadium. They received a ban for fans' misconduct in previous matches of UEFA Champions League. Wow. We and the rest of the world wish Arsenal success tonight. It's not good luck, they're playing good football. 5 clean sheets in a row. Definition of a clean sheet is you're not being scored. 0. Nada, nothing. Wow. Let's cross over to the Standard this morning. The question here, the story here is tough questions as Linturi claims fertilizer is good. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Medika Linturi has for the umpteenth time said there is no fake fertilizer in the country. However, he admits that just 3,000 bags were found unsuitable for use. However, farmers tell a different story. The story has been covered on page 4 and 5. We talk about that this morning on our review. The bigger story here again is on Star DJ Farm turning witness in a murder case. That essentially means that the charges around him have been lessened or dropped. If you read that story on page 3 of the Standard. There's currently no truce between Israel and Gaza. Story has been covered on page 27. And the story here of World Bank warning of poverty and inequality. Story has been covered on page 25. And on page 13, you're going to read about how school layoffs loom in secondary school changes, where a major overhaul is in a horizon for over 10,000 secondary schools in the country. Now, the changes could lead to significant staff layoffs and funding cuts as the government implements CBC. That's what it is. Let's move to the back page and see exactly what is there. It is all about Manchester City and Arsenal. Well, the only team that you can talk about in the Premier League, essentially, it is. Arsenal seek to end years of pain against Bayern. The Gunners are looking to transfer the momentum from their Premier League title charge onto the European stage. And there's good energy that is going to fuel Arsenal's double bid as they face Bayern. Yeah, it's going to be a tough night tonight, as they say. There's also Manchester City's Mr. Reliable Rodri stands in Real Madrid's way. It's a good story right here, but too bad it's been covered by AFP, right? So Rodri has not lost a game that is played for Manchester City. None. So chances are that Real Madrid might not win tonight. I don't know whether those stats work in this particular games. So shortly then, before we cross over to newsroom this morning, on the Business Daily this morning, you're going to read about why Kenyans do not earn interest on M-Pesa balances like it is in neighboring countries or juries. There's also a story here on Kenya racing to start tracking gas cylinders from June. That's it. And yesterday we closed on negative, both on NSE All-Share and the NSE 20-Share Index, with that one ending at 0.33% and NSE All-Share losing 2.08% from previous day trading. That's it. Come back with your news this morning. Welcome back. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Medika Linturi has asked Parliament for more time to furnish lawmakers with the documents needed in the ongoing probe into the fake fertilizer scam distributed in Kenya under the disguise of government-subsidized fertilizer. Linturi, who appeared before the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock Monday, pointed out that he had not submitted crucial documents needed in the investigation. Ian Ketani opens a bulletin this morning.
As thousands of farmers across the country continue to lament over the fake fertilizer with the planting season on the horizon, Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi found himself in an unfamiliar territory when he appeared before the National Assembly Agriculture Committee.
When you look at these questions, there is nothing like a question on fake fertilizer. So I cannot answer questions which are not being asked. With a lot of respect, there is nothing. So unless if you really wanted me to mention about that story, which I can't because I don't know what you really wanted to interrogate through this question. But if we were to really say this is a conversation between the ministry and a team that gives us support, you want us to share openly because we mean well for our people, it becomes very easy.
With the legislators demanding answers over the availability of fake fertilizer at the NCPB, the embattled CS was forced to ask for more time to furnish the committee with the necessary documents regarding the saga.
You know, and ask for indulgence for tomorrow. But for Wednesday, yeah, for Wednesday. So that because I was out of the country for the whole of last week. Now I've come this morning from Meru directly to this meeting. So I'm also at times very neat in trying to check the annexes. So if I missed out, this is an internal issue that I will have to deal with. But please, I would beg to be given time to supply you with the necessary material that is not what is alleged to be annexed, which is not, because there is nothing, Chairman, to hide.
Linturi, however, refuted allegations that the subsidized fertilizer was part of the fake fertilizer distributed to farmers.
The truth of the matter is that the farmers have had a lot of confidence with this program, and the program has been very successful. This is not the fertilizer under my subsidy program. We have, however, been able to find that out of that contract, commercial contract that was done, a company that was allowed to sell through our distribution network decided to make something that was different.
His appearance before the committee was not short of drama, with a section of legislators displeased with how the CS has been handling the matter.
We can only see a former shelf of him. You see what he has done? He has just gone the civil servant way. He's answered our questions one by one. Even the PS is not here. We're almost falling asleep. There is nothing much that the CS is telling us. So, Chair, my request is this. Can we get serious?
Let's move on then. Nominated Senator Gloria Roba is now calling on EACC and the DCI to prop corruption allegations at the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Roba, who was speaking to the media Monday, says the authority has been marred with the unscrupulous activities, calling on the disbursement of the board, which he says terminated a contract of employees who had raised concerns on the issues.
Manager,
Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority is under fire after nominated Senator Gloria Roba lifted the lead on what could be described as corruption at the authority that is supposed to be safeguarding assets that have not been claimed. The nominated senator now wants EACC and the DCI to investigate the matter as she called on the president to disband the UFA board, saying it is a scourge of corruption.
So I'm calling upon EACC to ensure that file that was there regarding this 10 billion and this money that is being looted to really push. But I'm also calling upon the CEO of UFA. First of all, I think he should step down so that this matter can be investigated. As you can see now, him being there is only to ensure that those who are doing their work innocently and diligently are now being punished because they have refused to participate in the corruption that is there. And for the board to be disbanded. I think the president needs to disband this board because it's just it's a matter of time.
Oroba now says a statement was read before the Senate seeking the Finance Committee to probe the discrepancies of funds remitted that amount to 10 billion shillings, a statement that led to the termination of 2 employees at UFA.
These offices, the ICT, Finance and Audit, actually rejected that report. And since then, there has been an issue because they were trying to say that there is so much more money that should have been collected, but only a certain amount was remitted to UFA. Now, these are some of the allegations that I wanted UFA to come and talk to Senate and literally tell us, where is this 10 billion? Where has it gone? Immediately that statement of mine, I read it in the floor of the House. Then you can see the head of ICT and the head of finance, they have been fired. And they have given no reasons whatsoever as to why they are not renewing the contracts of these two individuals. But it is very clear and outright that the amount of looting that is happening in UFA is, first of all, crazy, because this 10 billion is the one that we can see black and white on paper.
She has further called for the reinstarting of the two employees whose contract was not renewed, saying they are paying the price for not engaging in illegal dealings, which is unfair.
We require to look into the laws of how Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority is. Because it cannot be, first of all, that all 80% of the staff members are actually on contract. And there is no term limit, but it means that if, for instance, a situation like this where the head of ICT and the head of finance is doing their job, when they clearly are not interested in participating in the corrupt dealings by the board or the individuals who are there, then their contracts are not renewed. So we need to look into how to safeguard the positions of these staff members, because they are dealing with very, very sensitive matters. And these are matters where, as you can see, just the way the thing has been set up, you can be let go of. They just say, we are not going to renew your contract, and there's no explanation. It is just, you know, they try to say that you're not performing, but really it is because you are not interested in playing ball and being corrupt with these matters. So, in her statement to the Senate, the senator wanted the Finance Committee to establish 8 issues, among them the current status of the funds remitted in the past 5 years, investigate discrepancies regarding unremitted funds amounting to 10 billion shillings, establish why UFA incurred expenses of over 500 million shillings for substandard audit services, now state how the audit firms in question were selected and procured, and also the role of management in the supervision of the audit. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv.
Now let's give you some breaking news this morning, and this comes all the way from Nakuru, where it is feared that at least 8 people have been killed after a van that were traveling in rammed into a stalled truck along the Nakuru-Nairobi highway. Now, the incident happened near the Ngata Bridge in Nakuru. Now, police have actually confirmed that only one person who was in the van survived. The rest of them have lost their lives. We shall keep on giving you more details on this particular one as of when and how we have it. It's a sad story that continues the trend of accidents that have befallen the country this year. Already, we are 2,000 plus. So you'd essentially see exactly why road safety is important. It's raining this morning in majority of places across the country. So all drivers, please, if you can, drive slowly, be safe, make sure that whatever it is you're going, you arrive alive. Moving on, the Senate County Public Accounts Committee has directed Inspector General of Police Japhet Koome to compel Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja to appear before the committee within 14 days after the governor failed to appear Monday. The committee has put on notice Governor Johnson Sakaja for failing to honor various invitations and summons from the House. On Monday, Sakaja failed to appear before the committee to respond to audit queries. Now, the committee wants Sakaja to explain how 76 billion shillings was used in 4 subsequent financial years from 2019 to 2023.
Further, Senate is contemplating of invoking Chapter 226 of Public Finance Management Act, recommending Treasury CS to stop further allocation to Nairobi County Government until Sakaja explains how his executive utilized 76 billion Kenya shillings.
Wants to compel Governor Sakaja to appear before this committee and to respond to the Auditor General's report on the theft of 76 billion Because an adverse opinion simply means that. It means that the Auditor General cannot confirm that that money was put to good use.
Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna said if Senate does not stamp its authority, they will be doing a disservice to the people of Nairobi. In November last year, Senate Roads and Housing Committee slapped Sakaja with a fine of 500 Kenya shillings for failing to avail himself to shed light on the progress of regeneration projects across city estates. Sakaja has also been accused of working around the clock to block any investigations and imminent prosecutions awaiting him.
So, when he appears, he must appear with his detailed responses. We don't want stories here. We don't want him to come with just with a boarding pass and then he goes away. He definitely must come with a boarding pass to confirm that he had traveled. He definitely must justify why that travel was more important than defending 76 billion. But he definitely also must go into the details of that report. So, clerk, let's look for a date within the 14 days. Minimum 14 days to allow.
Last week, Embakasi East lawmaker Babu Owino exposed Sakaja over theft of public funds, including 30 billion Kenya shillings, which was withdrawn to compensate Embakasi gas explosion victims that did not go to intended beneficiaries.
What we expect of governors is for them to rise to the high calling of their offices.
According to the report seen by Lookuptv, the Office of Auditor General reported of another whopping 2.2 billion Kenya shillings, which was paid to ghost workers, while 226 million Kenya shillings was withdrawn from salary accounts and paid to 40 fictitious accounts.
It is fair to say that over 95% of the governors appear before this committee very faithfully. We only have a few problems with a few governors, especially those that have receive very, very huge budgets. We have a small problem with, not a small problem, a very big problem in Nairobi.
Sakaja has been given 40 days ultimatum to appear before the Senate Public Accounts Committee to answer the Auditor General's questions regarding the misappropriation of 76 billion Kenya shillings. Aaron Kinyamasio, Lookuptv.
Disc jockey Joseph Mwenda, alias DJ Job Falme, has been released from remand in an ongoing murder case of Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI officer Felix Killian. In a ruling Monday, the court stated that Mwenda and 5 co-accused, including 3 police officers, should be made state witnesses. The other co-accused are Eric Kariuki Gadua, Simon Wambugu Wanjiru, Khadija Abdi Wako, Sami Cheriot, Rotich, and Agnes Kerubo. The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, in a letter dated April 5th, 2024, directed that Alan Ochieng, who was one of the accused in assault of Killian, which is alleged to have caused his death, will now be charged with murder.
After spending time in remand, this jockey Joseph Mwenda alias John Falme is now free man and a state witness. In a ruling on Monday, Falme was released along with his co-accused and cleared of murder charges.
The miscellaneous application herein is now closed based on the prosecution's presentations in court as well as the response from counsel.
His release, however, is to the chagrin of the deceased family, who say that the king had indicated to them before his death that attackers were more than one person.
Na mwanaharakati, nataka kutoa pole zangu kwa familia ya mwenda zake, lakini nahofia sana kwamba inaonekana kwamba hatutapata haki. Tayari kuna dhana potovu ambazo tumeona kwenye koti hii. Tumeona kwamba tunabaguliwa. Ala ni mtoto ambaye nimemlea wakati mama yake aliaga. Ni mtoto ambaye amekuwa kwa mkono ya jamii. So tunaona kwamba tayari tunabaguliwa kwa sababu sisi hatujiwezi, sisi hatujulikani. Dhana la kusema kwamba Alan alikuwa bouncer ambayo imekubaliwa na kila mtu, ili hali tunajua sisi wote mpaka vyombo vya habari vimempeleka kwenye station na hakuwa bouncer.
Walibeto, the lawyer of the suspect who is still in detention, has said that his client was misidentified as a guard despite him being the hype man, adding that the suspect was detained in different cells from 6 others who are afraid.
When our client, now the accused person in this matter, was arrested, he was blatantly beaten up. And he was the only one who was beaten up among the 7 respondents. Secondly, he was detained separately at Kabete police station, while the other 3 were detained at Mudangari. and the other 3 detained at RUTO. So we already saw that there was a common thread to isolate our client, the accused person in this matter, and place the blame and the responsibility. President
William Ruto officially commissioned the Samtech Limited, a clinker plant in West Pokot County, hailing it as a monumental investment set to transform the region's economic landscape. Speaking at the ceremony, President Ruto underscored the significant impact of the $45 billion investment on the local community, emphasizing its potential to catalyze development and prosperity.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is absolutely no justification for us to import clinker when we have manufacturing capacity, when we have the raw material. There is nothing that we are going to import to make this clinker here. And if there is any import, it is less than 10%. So this is clinker manufactured in Kenya. And I am firm and determined to make sure that we grow our manufacturing in Kenya. For the last almost 6 years, manufacturing in Kenya has come down from 9% of GDP to 7.2%. Our plan is to take it to 20% of GDP, and it will not go there through miracles, it will go there through investments like what Guru and others are doing in Kenya. Hii West Pokot ni county ya mining. Na vile mnajua tayari tumepatiana kandarasi ya factory ya mining ya Flospa. Tumepata mwegezaji ataweka pale bilioni 4.5. Tumepata mwegezaji mwingine ambaye atatupatia mambo ya gold, ile Guru alisema. Kakamega kwa huyu ndugu yangu mheshimiwa Shinali. Pale tuko na bilioni 5.8 kujenga gold refinery pale Kakamega. Vile vile tunajenga kiwanda ingine kule Vihiga ya granite. Tumepata mwegezaji ya shilingi bilioni 2.5, na ni kwa sababu tumekubaliana kama taifa ya kwamba lazima tupange vile tutazalisha mali.
That this factory will change the perception of Pokot. The Pokot people are hardworking. Pokot people needs the opportunity. We have also not left behind in the environment. This project, when we also put the waste heat recovery so that no dust or no heat goes into the environment. We will make 9 megawatt power here. Total power we produce in Kenya today is 69 megawatt from our waste heat recovery, including the plant which you inaugurated immediately after the election in Samburu, where we have our own 60 megawatt power from the waste heat.
Now, Kenyan mothers are being subjected to gross violation of their rights while seeking maternal care in healthcare institutions. This is according to a survey conducted by Nguvu Collective. According to the survey, 94% of the victims did not report the abuse for fear of their experience being trivialized.
The search for maternal care has proven to be an uphill task for most Kenyan women. A time when they are bringing a life to the world, the reality of the process and abuse they are subjected to leaves them with trauma. A survey done by Nguvu Collective on obstetric violence in Kenya reveals traumatized voices of OBV survivors. According to the survey, which was conducted across 27 counties, 94% of women choose not to report their OBV experiences, citing a lack of confidence in the system's responsiveness. 83% of women have encountered some form of OBV, with 68% experiencing egregious human rights violation. 46% of these women who had experienced OBV were between 25 and 34 years of age. The various forms of obstetric violence that emerged through the survey were under psychological and emotional abuse. There was disregard of needs and pain, verbal abuse and humiliation, dehumanizing and rude treatment and discrimination. Under the physical violence and coercion, women experienced pressure or manipulation into accepting medical interventions or procedures they do not want or need, hitting. They were even slapped, kicked, and restraining a woman during pregnancy, childbirth, or during the postpartum period. Under the medical neglect, there was malpractice and unnecessary interventions such as denial of care, unsanitary maternity settings, non-consensual pelvic exams, forced sterilizations, unnecessary cesarean sections performed without medical justification, and unnecessary medication prescription and recommended usage. The most prone to subjecting women to OBV were nurses at 51%, followed by doctors, obstetricians and gynecologists at 25%, and non-clinical staff at 19%. The survey also revealed that 9% of the reported OBV incidents resulted in infant death, while 13% had a long-term negative impact on the child's health and development. Meanwhile, 21% of OBV incidents affected both the mother and the child's health and development in the long term. Githunguri, Member of Parliament, that is Gathoni Wamushomba, has tried to change this narrative of silence by tabling a proposal for a national policy to address OBV since last year. It is yet to be approved by Parliament. Brian Amuai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Interior and National Administration Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo says police are working around the clock to apprehend those operating unlicensed petroleum products, speaking during the session on combating illicit trade of a petroleum sector as a key catalyst in government's bottom-up economic transformative agenda. Omolo noted that the contributions petroleum and gas industry thus the need to clean up the sector from illegal practice. Omolo said the government is putting concerted efforts to combat illicit LPG products, just the same efforts doing in the second generation alcohol by revoking licenses.
Monitoring and surveillance of the supply chain to help in early detection of illicit activities. I want to urge the players in the sector to take advantage of the existing infrastructure of the National Government Administration officers as coordinators of regular inspections and surveillance exercises at the county levels owing to their reach. So the ministry has a presence up to the lowest level, and my plea is that let's take advantage of this network to support in our efforts to just clean up the sector. At the county level, I know there is an interaction that must happen with the county government, but then we have the county commissioners who actually are the chairs of the Security and Intelligence Committee, and they also chair a number of other government programs, being the government's representatives at those lower levels. Number two is that there is need to update and strengthen the legal frameworks to impose stricter penalties on those involved in the illicit trade. So, of course, we need to look at the regulations, the ones that are not out there, that needs to be out. It's important that we fast track that process. At times, it's very easy within the government cycle for people to report that the regulations have been submitted to the AG's office. But I don't think that that is enough. There must be a very deliberate attempt on the side of our officers to have proper conversations with the officers at the Attorney General's office. One, for them to appreciate why it's important to fast track these regulations. And then number two, even engagement beyond the AG's office is important. We must have engagement with Parliament.
Here's the thing. I'm going to ask you this question. If you're in Nairobi, would you rather take your kid to a private school or a public school? Some schools that are heavily underutilized. I'll tell you which ones they are. So that report of Kilelesho Primary School, it's got almost no students. Not because it's not a good school, it's a good school, but it's got almost no students. But then again, other schools that have been marked there, even Lavington Primary School as well, that's got no students as well. But then another report also indicates that there's dire neglect of the government in these public schools. I mean, it is 2024, and we're talking about schools that are mud-walled. Pictures that we collected as a production or as a station, some of them are gory. That these are some of the images that majority of parents look at and they say, no, let it be. There's no need of taking our kids to public schools in the country. At this particular point then, that's exactly what we're going to talk about this morning in as regards this particular issue. That 70% of kids in Nairobi are going to private schools. And the reason is because there's a lot of neglect from the government in public education. What's going on? Why can't they fix it? Why can't they fix it? At a time when we're talking about CBC, which is competency based, you would like to think a proper focus will be on this particular schools. We talk about that. Plus, or should I say, including Musalia Mudavadi might just anyway be folding ANC to get into UDA. Guess who's not comfortable? Rigathi Gachagua has already said before he's not comfortable. So what's going to change this time as well? Is Wetangula going to follow the same route? But then this morning, on the sidelines of that, the president has been heavy on fake fertilizer in the country. But guess who is saying there's no fake fertilizer? His appointed CS, Mithika Linturi, saying, haven't said it. What are you guys talking about? Including the president. So whom is informing who in this fake fertilizer scandal? Once we come back right here on the morning drift, I already see some gentlemen walking to the studio. In your frame right there, you can see one, Mr. Edward Gedaiga, who we're going to indulge shortly on some of the top issues that are already engulfing the country. Once we come back right here on the morning drift, the hashtag is the morning drift at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Elijah Charles. We come back and talk on these issues. The gentlemen are going to join us in the studio this morning. We do expect Joshua Ndiani, or Dogman, who is a political analyst. Also, Edward Gedaiga, who is Africa for Haiti Chief Inspirational Officer, and Fanya Mambo Kinuria. Once we come back, let's talk about why Mithika Linturi is speaking from a different script from the president. I mean, why would the president say something different and Mithika Linturi also say something that I thought he was supposed to inform the president about what's going on in the ministry? Is it the same thing that the president keeps on saying, that to some of you, I know what goes on in your ministries more than you do? Once we come back.
University of Kenya, which was chartered on the 3rd of August 2023, aims to revolutionize higher education by breaking down barriers such as cost, previous exam grades, and geographical location through online open learning at the comfort of your home, job, etc., thus ensuring accessibility to education for all members of the society. In a nutshell, Open University of Kenya leverages technology to deliver education.
Open University has brought a new dawn in the Kenya education system, where learners are able to access education in a flexible, affordable, and all-inclusive.
Intakes ongoing for May and September. For more information, call us on 0202000211 or 0202000212 or email us at info@ouk.ac.ke. Open University of Kenya, an innovative university for inclusive prosperity. Come, let us show you place spot to build your dream home in Baraka Garden, situated just 5.4 kilometers from Blue Post Junction along the Thika Gatura Road. Place finest with secure gated community, maji na stima iko on-site, usitans na stories za title deeds ziko ready. Plus, flexible payment plans and financing options. Pay 30% and clear the rest in installments. Get in touch, twende site visit. For more information, contact 0794 333 222 or 0722 668 700 or visit our website www.mahasibuhousing.co.ke. Experience the beauty of Baraka Gardens today. Buy Credo Chap Chap across all networks bila stress. Go to M-Pesa paybill number 33000 na uweke account number yako na namba ya simu that you want to recharge. It's quick, convenient and hassle-free. In just a few clicks, buy airtime, M-Pesa paybill 33000. Account your number to stay topped up and connected anytime, anywhere. Chap Chap.
Leo nimeketi na viongozi ambao watakuwa wanajadili swala la uongozi bora, sio bora uongozi.
All the way from the social aspect, the economic spectrum, the political phenomenon, everything is facing a downward trajectory.
Je, ni utendakazi haupo bora? What is happening in governance and who is to blame?
He promised the youth that he will give them kazi mtahani, but now hakuna vijana are really suffering.
Naweza patia rais wetu kongole, lakini watu ambao wanafanya chini yake kidogo wametulet down.
We don't need lawlists in those offices. Tunataka watu ambao wanaweza kusaidia sisi kama wananchi so that we get the services that we require as a nation.
Watasema nini kuhusu swala la uongozi?
In 2032 when Babu Owino will be taking power and he will be appointing me as the Minister of Interior, you will see how we will end corruption in this country. Thank you.
Asante sana.
If you want to have a proper outlook of the economy, then you have to speak to the wheels and gears of the integral businesses in the country.
And I want to be able to make the youths and everybody coming up in Kenya know that this is here locally.
Men and women in the thick of the burst of markets rising and falling, fighting to make their business decisions stick.
I've always lived in my career that I can never be late.
You need to train by yourself. You need to practice by yourself. Then from there you can compose yourself and give kind of services like this.
On season 2 of the Captain's Arena, we seek the inside of the minds, predict the shift in the markets, get inspiration to start and make sense of it all.
Just watch what everybody else is doing and just make sure you're giving back to the society.
Oof. This is the Captain's Arena.
Well, I'll start like this. We've got an update again from that accident that happened this morning at Nakuru. 8 people essentially have lost their lives as well. But if you do remember, this coming just 2 days after a family lost 7 members. So you can imagine in 2 days, losing 15. Now police have confirmed that that van that rammed into a stalled truck at Ngata Bridge in Nakuru, police said that only 1 person in the van survived. So there were 9 in the van, 8 gone. Just the other day, 2 days in fact prior to this, a family lost 7. So in just 2 days, those are 15. And if you're looking at the numbers, by the way, you'll be shocked at where we are in a 2024. 2,000 plus. So today is another statistic. So like I always say, it is raining. You know what? Don't be in a hurry. Take care of your next neighbor. And always make sure that when you're on the road, you're taking caution. The authorities will never help you. You're the only one who's going to help yourself. Good. Other than that, then, let's introduce what it is that we're talking about this morning. And the only way for proper introduction of the issues that we're getting into is to start on the fake fertilizer scandal that has engulfed the Ministry of Agriculture. I want you to take note of what the President says and what the CS Agriculture says. Because then you like to think that these are 2 gentlemen that are reading from the same script, but they are not. Let's first start with what Mithika Linturi said yesterday before I come back, introduce the gentlemen who are in the studio this morning fresh, so we can start going into these matters. First, Mithika Linturi. Let's take a look.
So farmers across the country continue to lament over the fake fertilizer. With the planting season on the horizon, Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi found himself in an unfamiliar territory when he appeared before the National Assembly Agriculture Committee.
When you look at these questions, there is nothing like a question on fake fertilizer. So I cannot answer questions which are not being asked. With a lot of respect, there is nothing. So unless if you really wanted me to mention about that story, which I can't because I don't know what you really wanted to interrogate through this question. But if we were to really say this is a conversation between the ministry and a team that gives us support, you want us to share openly because we mean well for our people, it becomes very easy.
With the legislators demanding answers over the availability of fake fertilizer at the NCPB, the embattled CS was forced to ask for more time to furnish the committee with the necessary documents regarding the saga.
You know, and ask for indulgence for tomorrow. But for Wednesday, yeah, for Wednesday. So that, because I was out of the country for the whole of last week. Now I've come this morning from Meru directly to this meeting. So I'm also at times very neat in trying to check the annexes. So if I missed out on this an internal issue that I will have to deal with, but please I would beg to be given time to supply you with the necessary material that is not what is alleged to be annexed, which is not, because there is nothing, Chairman, to hide.
Linturi, however, refuted allegations that the subsidized fertilizer was part of the fake fertilizer distributed to farmers.
The truth of the matter is that the farmers have had a lot of confidence with this program, and the program has been very successful. This is not the fertilizer under my subsidy program. We have, however, been able to find that out of that contract, commercial contract that was done, a company that was allowed to sell through our distribution network decided to make something that was different.
His appearance before the committee was not short of drama, with a section of legislators displeased with how the CS has been handling the matter.
We can only see a former shelf of him. You see what he has done? He has just gone the civil servant way. He's answered our questions one by one. Even the PS is not here. We're almost falling asleep. There is nothing much that the CS...
How's that? So whatever he's saying is, it's not part of the subsidy program. That's him, that's the CS, is in direct charge of that particular docket. And he's saying it's not part of the subsidy program. But then you go back again 7 days ago. It's a story that we did on www.lookuptv.co.ke, where different government officials have been weighing in on this particular subject. And we're going to see exactly what the president says. And if you can, then, Jeremy, this morning, you can actually, on that fixed fertilizer story, you can take it all the way to when the president starts speaking, because we're going to get into that next. Once it's ready, you'll then let me know so that we know exactly where the bite starts and ends. This is what the CEOs have said, and this is Moses Kuria, who said fake fertilizer under the subsidy program has been withdrawn from the market. 2,000 bags of subsidized fertilizer. That's CS, Moses Kuria. And that was 7 days ago. Mithika Linturi, speaking on it, comes in and says, it's not under the subsidized program. This weekend, again, we covered 2 stories of 120 bags in Bungoma, where farmers got them under the subsidized program. That, again, turned out to be, I don't want to use the word fake, because I also want to factual this morning, unfit for use in the farm. DCI, essentially eked by this story, has summoned a couple of people to appear before them. And also, the National House also, eked by this story, has summoned the CS on it. Let's first start with, why do we have different statements from within the government over this particular issue? If you were to blame somebody for this, and when we're talking about whether it's fake or unsuitable, let's first start with the disharmony that is coming from government on this particular issue. On the other hand, you have government officials saying it's fake. It is under the subsidized program, 2,000 have been withdrawn. The CS follows that and says, no, it's not under my program. I'm going to play for you what the president says on this particular story as well, so that we see the disharmony in it. Let's first start with that. Why? Who's supposed to speak on this issue? Why is Moses Kuria and the rest of government officials speaking on this issue? All of them are convinced there's fake fertilizer. And they've confirmed they've withdrawn it, Gedaiga. The CS gets an opportunity to speak on it, says, no fake fertilizer.
Thank you very much for hosting me one more time on this show. Of course, Lookuptv, we always champion for independent and balanced media. And it depends also, while I start this morning, my first comment, it depends on where you're looking at it from. You see, going from where you're standing, I can really look at it from a very negative perspective. Like, government has to do a lot of explaining. But I would really like to enlighten Kenyans on this fact, is that it's not government that is speaking from different angles. It's just who the media is pointing at. There is a lot of people who are speaking on this matter, but the media chooses selectively so that they can come with an agenda or propaganda to show that government is not working together. Let me tell you, even today you walk in parliament, even in your own household, everybody will have a different opinion to tell the same story. You know, you've heard of that theory where, you know, a story can be told differently with the same aim but told by different people, and it can come out differently. Then secondly, also you have to look at the issue of mother tongue. Kenya is a country that has 42 different communities, and some of these communities, their mother tongue is very heavy on them, and this is especially Lituri Minturi, the CS for agriculture. Maybe what he said was a misunderstood completely, being that he's from that end of Mount Kenya, and maybe the way he explained it, you know, it's not a difference of opinion, really. It's just a matter of how you want to look at it. However, what I like from that story is that you've mentioned that the DCI, and this is how the Kenya Kwanza government wants to work. every institution within the Kenya Kwanza government is independent. It's supposed to be allowed to undertake its investigation, and that's the DCI who's undertaking this investigation to clarify. Furthermore, there are those instruments in Parliament, which are the committees, which are also in use at this time.
Yes.
The committees have called in even the Cabinet Secretary to explain this matter into detail.
Yes.
So I would like to urge Kenyans not to be, not to be so emotional about this matter. The media may try to play with your emotions, but the Kenya Kwanza government, even in Parliament, they are in control of this. And even before you play what the president spoke, I can already speak what he spoke, And indeed, this matter has to be gotten to the bottom of it. We are a country that is developing and has an aim and an ambition to be like the Asian tigers. And you can see the example of the Southeast Asian tigers is that there was no tolerance on corruption or certain things like this. And I'm sure, going by the cue of the president, that if anybody is caught with this matter, then they must be, action must be taken against them. Because another thing you have to also understand is that the fertilizer matter is also a national security matter, and it has been the paramount program of the Kenya Kwanza government. So there will be no tolerance in any moment of tolerating any person who tries to interfere with matters of food security. And the government is also giving a subsidy. Instead of investing like the previous government on consumption, the government is investing a huge amount of money on production. So we are subsidizing a fertilizer which was 7,000 and which is still 7,000 in the private sector. But government is able to give it to the farmers at 2,500. So it would be embarrassing for the government to allow this to happen. And I'm sure the government has spoken. So what you've heard is different angles of the government speaking, but they're all speaking against anything on this one.
President, I'm going to go back and point out exactly what CS Korea said. Dogman, good morning. I want to rope you in now. This is exactly what he said, and this was 7 days ago. It's on April 2nd. I'm going to read exactly what he said. Quote, out of the 6 brands being distributed under the subsidy program, all right, 5 passed the quality test. Only 1 failed the test, and there are 2,000 bags were withdrawn from the market. I'll continue. It is high time farmers go to work, making use of fertilizer subsidy program rather than get lost in the noise and regret later. Is a man who's giving us numbers. Is a man who's giving us the names of the brands. So Moses Kuria was not getting interviewed on this particular story. No, it was a gathering, and he stood up to defend the government's position on its policies. Now, since there were rumors about fake fertilizer, he stood up to address it and actually said, well, we are aware that some failed and we've withdrawn that, 2,000 bags. Goes on to say, continue buying this subsidized fertilizer. Use it now, don't regret later. So he's speaking about the subsidy program. This is exactly what he's saying, that when we cover that story. How is it then that the CS will turn around? Because the CS is the one who's supposed to give us now factual information. What was Moses Kuria reading this story from? To the point that he's saying the National Cereals and Produce Board has gone out to withdraw these fertilizers from the market. The CS comes in to say, whatever you've had is not factual. It goes ahead to discount stories that have been done in the media, and they're factual stories where farmers are coming out to say, this is what we collected, look at it, it doesn't meet the standard, it's not fertilizer per se. Goes on to say, give me time before I come and give you further information on this fake fertilizer story. As far as I'm concerned, it is fertilizer that has not met the standard. It's not fake fertilizer. Why is CS Korea speaking on it? He's even said fertilizer has been withdrawn, 2,000 bucks to be exact. And why is the CS coming to say, it's not fake fertilizer, I've not met it? Who is supposed to speak about what in this particular story?
Thank you for inviting me here this morning. And first of all, wish to speak in a language that my people, my viewers will understand.
No,
I represent the hustler, the real hustler.
No,
we need to go back a bit, see where the rain started hitting us. And I will explain very well why is all these things happening. And why? Because from the word go, the UDA government was formed in the hustler's narrative. We are the hustler. Who's the hustler? Hustler is that guy, lazima nitoke nje ndio kwangu kukuliwe. Okay? Kama leo sitatoka nje kwangu wakuta kuliwa. That's a hustler. And there's this picture that the Excellency William Samoei RUTO, outside here we call him Samurai, mtaani, eh?
Yes.
There's this picture Samurai created on us. And he has to come out to tell us the truth, us the hustlers who voted for him. Because this is the picture that he created in our heads.
Yes.
That a hustler is us now. There's this, in the previous government, we had this, let's say a chain link, that it's electric.
Yes.
Okay? And on this other side is the hustlers, we the hustlers. We could see what's happening on the other side. Okay? Now on our side, we got a son of our own who was close to the other side, seeing what happens on the other side, na amerudi pande yetu. We on this side can only see, and you know, it has electric, it's electric.
Yes.
And whatever, now, this son of us came and told us, the other side, we call them deep states. You understand my point? Now, from this side, we, our wives, our children, our dogs, we always envy what we see on the other side. Now, this son of ours comes and tells us, hey, vote for me. When I go to the other side, I will pull down the electric fence so that Nyaje, Niwase can come to the other side. Now there will be no deep state, Nama hustler. That's what we voted for, okay? Now, and we believed in it. We knew, huyu msee wetu akivuka ile pande, he will tear the electric fence. So anything that we see on this side, we wish for, we'll get it. And we voted for this man. And he got on the other side. Now, what happened after he got on the other side? We thought the fence would go down. But what is happening now? He's building a perimeter wall on us. Leave alone the electric fence. He's building the perimeter wall on us. As the hustler who voted for him, we really sacrificed a lot. I'm telling you as one of them. We knew we were supposed to be in this government. He promised us a lot. Our mothers, mama mboga ni mama zetu. Watu wa boda ndio sisi. Okay? He promised us a lot. Tutajenga serikali nanyi. Now he's building this wall. What happened? He's coming up with funny people in this called UDA government. Now, because of this government is based on uongo. Alibanja na sisi, lakini ametupatia uongo. So, to do all this, he brought some guys, we don't know where he brought them from. Amejenga serikali now. Sio sisi. Now, what is happening is Kalma. Because this guy had to restructure a lot of things. Nothing inajengwa kwa uongo will stand firm. So had to fix a lot of incompetent people. That's why I'm coming back to your question. Why are we getting all these different answers from one question?
Yes.
Why? Because we have incompetent government in place. That's true. I'm telling the truth, brother. If these guys, 100%, he could have kept his promise, kwa se kama sisi. I want to tell you something. These things that tunasikia sijui, fake fertilizer, blah, 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 all them, name them. It's true. We have fake fertilizer. The president himself agreed. Na amesema wakulima rudishiwe do yao.
Compensated, yes.
Si ni kweli? Why? Because he himself knows the truth, that it's fake. And if he knows it's true, the best thing he should do now is to shuffle this cabinet. Mapema ndio best. Because I'm telling you, this UDA government is going nowhere. That's how we see it from our side, and that's the truth.
Tazam. Yeah. So here's the thing. Just before you come back with a response, we're building up to where the problem could be. That you would expect that when this story broke, the first people to speak about it, that all directives would have come from the Ministry of Agriculture, because it's a story that is touching on the biggest initiative for the president. In fact, the biggest win. When you ask majority of Kenyans on the top of their head, Githaiga, what has this government done? They will tell you on the places that they've won already is on the subsidy program, the one that they're extending to farmers in the country in form of fertilizer. Then you'd expect that the Ministry of Agriculture will come out quickly at that to give directive on exactly what is happening in this particular area. Seemingly, they did not. Moses Kuria picked this story. A lot of politicians across the country, and by the way, not even from the opposition, even the ones that are formed within Kenya Kwanza picked up this story, and they're talking about the existence of fake fertilizer in the market. He suspected as well. The president, hold on, the president has picked it. And the president has essentially gone in and said he knows very well there are guys who've come in and raided in on his subsidy program, and he wants all those farmers who were sold that fake fertilizer to be compensated. Let's listen in to what the president said about this particular issue. Once we come back, table a conversation around it.
Every farmer will get the correct fertilizer, na wale watu wachache, kwa sababu kuna wakora ambao wanataka kuhujumu hiyo kazi ya muhimu ya kuzalisha chakula. Nimesema hawa watu, number one, kama kuna fertilizer mkulima amenunua na sio correct, huyo mkulima lazima akuwe compensated, apatiwe fertilizer ingine free of charge. Na wakora wote mambo yao ni matatu.
This comes as authorities investigate SBL for fake fertilizer in the country.
Tumepanga vizuri. Mambo hii yote ya fertilizer iko sawa sawa. Tuko na kampuni karibu 4 ambayo tunashirikiana pamoja na wao. Kuna kampuni moja iko na kasoro kidogo lakini tunarekebisha.
President Ruto has however said he is satisfied with the ongoing distribution of fertilizers, noting that the process must be accelerated on account of increased rains across the country. He assured farmers across the country that there is sufficient stock to meet their demand. Ruto explained that he is committed to ensuring enough food production to support more livelihoods, adding that he will keep pushing for the reduction of fertilizer prices so as to make farming more profitable through reducing the cost of farm inputs to tackle hunger in the country.
Mimi kwanza nataka niwapongeze nyinyi wakulima, kwa sababu nyinyi ndio wazalendo wakuu wa taifa letu la Kenya. Munazalisha chakula yenu na mnatusaidia kulisha Wakenya wengine. Hii mambo ya mbolea mimi nitasort out. Mbolea hiyo ilikuwa inaiswa 6,000, saa hii si mnalipa hapa 2,500. Ama namna gani? Na mnajua Mungu pia ametubarikia. Sisi tumepata mvua jameni. Sisi tunashukuru Mungu.
The president advised farmers to broaden their range of crop production through taking advantage of affordable fertilizer, noting that it is possible to turn farming into a lucrative venture.
Na pia hii kilimo tunataka kutumia kuendesha viwanda yetu. Vijana wapate kazi na pia tufanye export. Sio mahindi peke yake tunalimia hii mbolea. Tunalimia mahindi, tunatumia kwa ngano, tunatumia kwa miwa kuinua ile uzalishaji ama productivity ya kilimo.
Maureen Bosira, Lookuptv.
Tazan. So, I want to take you back to the statement from Moses Kuria as well, so that we try and tie what the president is saying with what Moses Kuria said. He said that out of the 6 brands being distributed under the subsidy program, 5 passed the quality test. Only 1 failed the test. The president right there is also confirming that indeed, out of the we do not know how factual that information is from the president as well, because he's not mentioned that they have 6 brands. He said there's 1 brand that has got a problem and they're going to solve it. So if you're to track that information of the president, pick up what the CS, Moses Kuria, said, you will see that indeed it is true to say that 1 brand that is getting distributed under that subsidy program has got a problem. So rightly so that the president said, we are correcting it. That's why Moses Kuria comes in and says, well, the 2,000 bags have been withdrawn. Up until this point, what it is we're talking about is the subsidy program. The president is talking about the subsidy program to the farmers. So let them go continue buying that. So how is it that the president knows very well that we have a problem with the fertilizer that is getting distributed under the subsidy program, but when the CS goes to the National House in front of that committee to talk about the fake fertilizer scandal, he says, not that I know of.
You know, the media likes sensationalizing everything.
No. It is factual.
I can tell you, it's factual, but you're sensationalizing it.
What has been sensationalized?
Yes, I'll tell you.
Yes.
You see,
out of that detail, Gedaiga.
You see,
I've only read to you what the president has said. What Moses Kuria said.
What we have is we have to separate these matters. And I really wanted first to respond, but let me just talk about this.
Go directly into it. I'm going to give you a right
Moses
response.
Kuria is a public service minister. He has a right because the public have come forward. He's like a supervisor to a certain extent. Remember, even last quarter, he had these rounds he was doing with the CSs and about their performance, and especially to do with public interest, really. So he's on his right to say that. Secondly, the president obviously has got all the information from the intelligence, from everybody. And the president is right in saying that there is an issue, but that is not an issue to be made a headline and to say that there is fake fertilizer. Like it's like, wait, hold on.
What would you call it?
No, I mean, look, brother, even when you go to a shop to buy bread, there are those which will be spoiled.
No,
hold on.
No,
let me finish.
You should be buying spoiled.
No, hold on, let me finish.
No, just give a correct example.
I'm giving you an example.
No, but just give a correct example.
When you go into a shop, you'll find different kind of bread. And when you get home with that bread, you open the bread, you find it is spoiled. But you don't go and say, I don't want to mention bread companies.
How many times have you bought spoiled bread, Gedaiga?
Severally. This happens even with milk. Wait, hold on.
No, you can't give that example.
My brother.
No, you can't give that. That's a bad example, isn't it, Gedaiga? That's a bad example. No, that's a bad example. That's a bad example.
So anyway, so I just want to focus on this matter so that you can understand how the Kenya Kwanza government operates. You know, obviously there is a problem there. One company, and the president has said that they are fixing the matter.
Does it?
You know, it's not a national disaster, and I am rightfully here saying that even last week when this topic came up, I stood my ground and I said to any person who is a farmer out there and has got fake fertilizer, kindly report that fertilizer to the nearest DCI station or the police station so that action can be taken and that fake fertilizer can be investigated so that we can find, is it part of those ones? Because another thing you have to understand, right now in this country, there is a lot of people faking a lot of things, even the war on alcohol. One of the major biggest battle is counterfeit, you know. So we know that there are people who are counterfeiting this government fertilizer and selling it at 2,500 to unknown buyers because they just see the stamp. You know, they think, you know, I mean, at least what Lituri you should be telling Lituri is that he should be on the ground, solving this matter on the ground, not in parliament really. Right now we need to see Lituri on the ground, going to find out where those bags are and bringing those bags for investigation himself, because it is under his ministry and it is under his watch that has happened. So therefore I feel that the way you're trying to, there is no difference in opinion. And secondly, parliament, there is an oath he has taken. So he has to speak according to his truth. You understand? On the other hand, the president made a public statement, to the public reacting on this matter because of the velocity of this matter, and that's why the president spoke. But anyway, quickly about this gentleman here.
Just before you cross over,
there's something.
Do not run away from the story.
He's a border rider.
Yeah, I'm going to give
you have to give me this because it's good to be fair.
I'm going to give you as much time
but
as
let me
you
speak
think.
it because I've started.
Just for the sake of the conversation, because we're here talking about fake fertilizer. I mean, what would you like to say that about this story breaking 7 days ago, and this weekend again, the 120 bags again of fake fertilizer that were nabbed in Western Kenya? That at a time when you have the government telling you that we are ahead of this particular issue, 120 bags again. Imagine Western Kenya. We do have that story on www.lookuptv.co.ke again. Just on that issue alone, I mean, likening the subsidy program to any other product in the country will be wrong on this basis. That the companies that have been given this particular tender
there are 4 companies.
Yes, they're known. 1, 2, 3, 4. All of them are known. That when it comes then to knowing who is at fault, it's quite easy for you to say this and they're saying it, and the president is saying it. Moses Kuria is saying it as well. It's only one company that has not passed that particular standard. So when it comes to solving it and quickly at that, it will be instant. That they are known that this particular company has not met the standards. And I don't want to go into fake because the CS said, we are the ministry. Before we tell you to say it's fake, we have to first give you that information, and I'm guided by that.
Exactly my point.
And that's
you see, on one end, you're picking up the right things to sell in the media, but the other time you're picking...
Every time I've said fake fertilizer, is because it's been said by somebody. And I started this morning by saying I don't want to use the word fake, because yesterday, Medically
Same thing I'm saying, sensationalizing.
Good. No, give me time.
When I said you put the headline fake fertilizer, sensational.
On the basis of that these companies are known, that this company, and I want to be factual as well, that this company that has not met the standards is known. The fact that we're still napping 120 bags of that fertilizer in Western Kenya that has been sold over that period when we are talking about this story breaking out. That's why if you look at that particular story from Medically Nturi, members of parliament were a bit angered that here you are saying that, well, I do not know whether there is fake fertilizer in the market. You have to give me time to give you those documents. But then again, this weekend, 120 bags again have been found in Western Kenya. So do you like the way the Medically Nturi is handling this situation based on that?
You see, let me tell you, the CS Agriculture, he's speaking from his perspective of the Ministry of Agriculture, and of course, there has been bags which have been alleged to have been fake and have been nabbed. And the DCI, who is demarcated by the Constitution to handle such matters, is currently investigating this matter. However, I feel that we are meddling and we are sticking to what the CS said rather than focusing on what the government is doing to solve this matter.
But the CS says...
And what the government... No, wait. What is important is what the government is doing.
Who's the government in this
particular issue? You see, I'm trying to respond to you. Yes. The 120 bags which you have mentioned more than 3 times in the last 5 minutes is a fact to show that the government is on its point. It's really working hard to now get behind this matter and ensure that we have seamless movement of fertilizer. Remember, Kenyans, this is the 2nd year that the Kenya Kwanza government is implementing the fertilizer program. And this year we've had a lot of improvement because we even know what the farmers are planting and what they do for their daily sustenance. So while the newspaper heads and editors sit in the newsrooms here in Nairobi, they are not in the farms seeing what is happening. The Kenya government has agricultural extension officers. It works closely because with the county government agriculture is devolved. So I want to assure Kenyans that there is no fake fertilizer in that essence. What was there has already been nabbed. It's just like the way we can have counterfeit or conmen, people putting into the market substandard products in the guise of being a certain company. So that's why we are also urging as Kenya Kwanza government that you give time for the investigation to be concluded, so that even what you had yesterday was just hearing from the Parliament Committee. A parliamentary committee has authority to investigate and give recommendation.
I think
for
Mr. Simba,
prosecution.
We are sitting here, I can't sit here and swallow all these guys talking a lot of lies na uongo mingi, you know. I can't just sit here and stomach.
You see, I didn't even
saying.
respond to him, but now he'll get a second go.
I'm going to give you a chance.
Yes.
Trust me. On that particular issue, I'm going to give you a chance.
Because number one, if you remember Mr. Simba very well, we started with the fake seeds. If you remember, sometimes back we have some fake seeds, some stories. Now we have fake fertilizer. I think at this point, we are all Kenyans. Sisi sio mafala sahi. We come here on TV station, live station, and someone tells us these are all cartoon stories, there's nothing fake, blah, 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 blah. I think that's, hiyo ni ile Kenya kitambo, not now. Number one, what should happen? The CS, Lidhika, should resign. That was like yesterday. Because the president himself has said there's fake. Kuria said there's fake. That means these guys are not in the same basket. Kuna mtu anajitetea. Si hapa nje sio mafala, tunaona nini inaendelea. So the best thing the president should do now is come out clean. Tell his people, number one, hiyo fertilizer yote irudishwe. Because it's fake. And now this is a national disaster. Because you can't tell us you're distributing fake fertilizer countrywide and you're expecting us to have harvest.
It's actually said it because he said all those farmers
who
bought.
Yes, should
all those farmers who bought should
Simba,
be back.
the president
yes, now
say
that
it is
Mr.
fake.
Simba, now that's
He
time
said
consumption. Remember, that's time consumption. We have rains now. We have rains now. The president has agreed at some
He
point.
didn't say it's fake.
Now telling people
He
to
said we know there is one company.
It's not about one company, Mr.
No.
Simba. Once I agree that a refund should be done,
but there's only
I should not come out and say it's fake. Once I agree the refund should be done, that's it. We are not stupid. This is your mafara. We can live in between the lines.
You know.
So this is what's happening. Number one, the president should come out like today or yesterday and reshuffle his cabinet. And Mr. Rintuli should now be answering these questions in the DCI. Him and that fake company we know, all these watu wakusanywe wote, wawekwe ndani, and again, even in Lookuptv, don't give these people who will come here to tell Kenyans uongo mingi sana. Hapa nje we hustlers tumechoka na hizi uongo. It's the high time we speak the truth and nothing but the truth. We don't need to hide things here. Hapa nje ni kubaya. So you come and tell me I don't have money in my pocket. Do you? You don't. Hakuna mtu akona pesa. Now, giving these people fake fertilizers, we are waiting for big harvest. We have rains here. That means someone who had already planted, he doesn't have fertilizer. So for you to do that, to get the fertilizer is a process. You don't walk in there and unapata fertilizer. Is it true? So for you to get all this fertilizer again and blah, 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 something in that process will have gone wrong. That means we are not going to get the harvest that we were supposed to harvest. Why? Because of these fake governments. So we need changes as early as possible.
You know, and I'm going to give you a chance also to respond to that. Just pick it up from this particular point. Somebody, and I can't remember, I would have told you the name. Somebody sat where Dogman is seated and said, you know what? It's like we don't understand where food security falls in the running of a government. He said, it is after national security, it falls in that docket that you have a program in the government. And by the way, this was touted as a magic bullet. And we all recognize that. It's a magic bullet in the Kenya Kwanza government. Said, oh, fantastic. If you can get into production, subsidized production, then give yourself 1 or 2, 3 seasons of planting in the country, food security will be a thing that you'll be solving in a government. But then Githaiga, giving enough brevity, and the government is spending a lot of money to subsidize fertilizer. It was around 7,000 shillings thereof, 7,500 shillings thereof before they came in. Took it all the way back to 2,500 shillings. You'd expect that the president would expect that all his officials come out to support this one heavily because it's dear to the president's heart. That's why when he was speaking about it, it's quite aggrieved to the point of saying that every other farmer who bought that fertilizer has to be refunded. Make sure they refund that. That guy asked the same question. Good Lord, this fake fertilizer has been nabbed. What about the one that was not nabbed? What about those people who went ahead, bought it, knowing very well they're buying a government certified product, went right ahead and planted, and majority of them up to now have not known that what it is that they planted with was fake fertilizer.
Oh God.
Just hold on.
You're still calling it fake.
Just hold on. Just hold on.
No.
And then, hold on. And then we talk about production that hasn't hit the levels that we're supposed to make.
Look, my friend, I want to take you back a year ago, a time like this, when the government of Kenya went, led by His Excellency, went to Nyayo Stadium to pray for rain. I remember, I think maybe Simba was one of the journalists laughing at Kenya Kwanza government.
Was it for praying for rain?
Yes, wait, hold on, it's my time now. When Kenya was praying for rain so that we would have rainfall. And I remember very well the subsidies for fertilizer came at that similar time. And a lot of people were laughing and saying, oh, you know, we've already planted, oh, we're not too sure about the rains, what are you going to do? Who said government can pray for rains? And a lot of hulabaloo was around that story. And it's come back again. It's like it's an addiction. I think anything good that the Kenya Kwanza government is doing, you always find noisemakers or people who want to distort the reality and sell a fake, propaganda, I would call it. Because first of all, there is nothing like fake fertilizer in the market. You're trying to distort, even people should be wary of these comments they're making, even in the media. Because when you deal with national security, you're dealing with national security. And if you're going to make, and it's against the law in fact, to make a sensational comments and try to, use propaganda to misinform Kenyans so that they rebel or they revolt against the sitting government, it is actually illegal. And I believe CAK should be watching the media a lot in how they are sensationalizing and giving misinformation to people, because this is an industry of food production. And when people say fake fertilizer was given, they don't know whether it was given, they don't know whether they have planted. That is now creating hysteria and creating a revolt against the government. What the government has said, brother, like for example, you trust the government with immunization of your children. Hold on. No, listen to me, my friend.
Just hold on.
No, but you have to allow me to complete my sentence.
You are at a media station, and when you say that information has been sensationalized, you got to point out to how it has been sensationalized.
Exactly.
You are speaking to
we are saying the government said
in that headline today on the Daily Nation as well, and any other media that you pick today, they're calling it the fake fertilizer scandal. That this what fake, because that's what
sells the papers. You see,
it has no
when it says fake fertilizer scandal, and nobody has proved, the media has not proved it, the DCI have not proved it, nobody has given, you cannot give me a factual.
It's not about facts.
Wait, hold on.
All I'm saying
is
that if you want to call it fake, then at least say that this word fake did not originate in the media. It did not.
No, what I'm saying, listen to me, my friend.
Yes.
Listen to me. You cannot now begin to remove yourself from the blame as the media, and you're the ones who are giving us these headlines every other day. I'm sure last week there was a headline that read fake fertilizer. Wait, hold on. But I'm asking those media, and I respect the media.
Yes.
In fact, media, we thank you for giving us a lot of information. But however, whenever it comes to Kenya Kwanza projects, Kenya Kwanza, anything that is dear to His Excellency the President or the government of Kenya Kwanza, which is the government of Kenya, the media always tries to look at it from a negative perspective. And that's why I'm saying, today, 120 bags have been picked from the millions. And I remember on this station last week I said, when you're given the supply, my brother, when you're given the supply tender to supply the government. You take your sample. You cannot do 1 million samples. You can imagine how many bags of fertilizer are being distributed in the market. It is in their millions, isn't it? Because the farmers themselves are over 5 million. And in fact, we'd like to thank the Kenya Kwanza government because they have already audited. They know. They have done their assessment. They have done research. They know all the agriculture farmers in the country. They have their database. They know which fertilizer they need to use. Hold on. And I saw him a bit ignorant because, hold on. I saw him a bit ignorant. He doesn't even, he said blah, blah, blah. I wondered, hey, what's this gentleman talking about, blah, blah, blah. Look, you don't even know where to get the fertilizer yourself. You're not a farmer. You call yourself a hustler. I want to say the border people, in fact, they are the biggest detriment to their own development. The Kenya Kwanza government gave them a blueprint and said, let us work together. Let us come work from before election for your right, and then post-election, we continue working together. Today, you try and get the border. There are about 2.5, almost 3 million border riders in this country. Try and put them in one circle. They do not want to come together. When you bring them in a meeting, they're always fighting against each other. Wait, hold on. So what we are saying even to the border riders, which I don't know whether he still rides or Sahi and boss, what we are saying is this. We are saying that come to Kenya Kwanza, come with ideas. Look, border riders, they are those in the rural areas, right? Who supplement a lot, the agricultural production of this country by offering that transportation. There are those in the peri-urban who help a lot in the movement of goods and services from the markets to the estates. And there are those in the urban centers who give rides, who carry passengers, who are going to do big business, who are going to make money. So the border riders are very important to the Kenya Kwanza government. We just need the border, and I'm challenging the border fraternity, if this is your messenger. I am challenging you also out there. Join together, form a circle. The border riders, if you had a circle, it would be the most powerful and the biggest. Even if you were to contribute 10 shillings a day with 3 million, that is how much 30 million shillings a day.
What is happening now? Yes, what is happening now? At least Mr. Githaiga, you can talk, because that freedom you are talking now, you can only express that freedom in this media house. Wallahi, you can't go outside there and tell people what you are saying, the common mwananchi. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, tusikuja hapa kudanganyana. Let's get facts and let's get serious here now. You can't go outside there. Nataka tusimame na wewe pale nje. Tell those people there that the fertilizer is not fake. Bro, you are lucky you're inside this media house. Outside there, you can't speak the way you are speaking. I'm telling you the truth. Number two, when we talk about the border riders, as I think he listened to me, but he never understood me. I said the first time with the previous government, Mr. Simba, we had a chain link, which was electric. We could see what was happening on the other side. But now, there is a perimeter wall, and it's half, we can't even see. So how would we cross over if now we have a perimeter wall? You understand my point? Number two, I had Mr. Githaiga talking about kuna kitu ameongea. He was talking about the border I've talked about. I was talking about what he was. I've forgotten. I had a lot in my mind.
It's all right, but you're going to pick it up. So
yes.
the question I'm asking this morning, as we're clear on this conversation for fake fertilizer, before we get into a deep conversation this morning, is if Mithika Linturi at this particular stage could ask to be given more time. That's what he said. Yes. He said, give me more time.
Yes.
So I can come back to you and tell you whether indeed this fertilizer that you're calling fake in the market is fake or not.
Yes.
What he says, and I'm gonna quote him verbatim, he says that what might be occurring is that this fertilizer is not meeting the standards.
Yes.
Whether fake or not, I need more time.
Yes.
To come back and tell you what it is.
Yes.
So if the CS is saying, give me more time, And the president is saying, compensate all of them.
Farmers, yes.
If the CS needs more time to tell us whether it's fake or not,
yes,
should we then go right ahead and compensate the farmers who the president wants compensated immediately? Because then that's where the conflict becomes. Because as journalists, when looking at that information, we are saying the president wants them compensated. So it was not good fertilizer.
Yes.
The CS is saying, I cannot tell you right now whether that fertilizer was fake or not. Give me more time. I'll come back with documents to ascertain whether indeed that fertilizer is fake or not.
Yes.
Just hold on. So in that setup right there,
yes,
the president is saying compensate them, all of them. The CS is saying, hold on, I can't tell you whether it's fake or not. So whose information should we take?
Number one, we should take the president's information because the president has the tools of power. He knows that this thing is fake. Number two, I remember what I wanted to answer my brother Githaiga is about the media. He's really attacking the media.
No,
don't know
I have
why.
not attacked
Sijui msee ni msee wa gava ama amechotewa, sijui rada yake. Sijui rada yao bro. Because now the media help us know all these things. There was this investigative journalist who gave us insights
on the fake fertilizer.
On the fake fertilizer, bro. And we were in the story of Kaliondus. Bro, and this guy is here saying, and his companion said blah, blah, blah. Because outside there, hiyo English yake bado wasa wanasikia ni blah, blah, blah. Akibongana wase hapa nje.
It's a document. Yeah.
Now, that was by the way. Yeah. Now, the president saying that we should compensate the farmers ASAP. The president knows what he's saying. Because the president has sat down, done his calculation and his maths, knows the more this Linturi says is telling us to give him time, that's what we don't have as the country. He promised us food security, number one. So if we go by the CS, the president will not be able to achieve his goals, what he promised his people. So the president at this point, what he should do to avoid all these back and forth is to, get this guy out of office and come out clean. And tell people it's true, their mistake was done. And now what you guys need to do, farmers, we need to go to this company, it's verified, get fertilizer from these companies, and need to come out clean and blah, blah, and plant, everything will be okay.
Yes. Just, we're going to take us for a break. We have 2 minutes on this.
Sure.
The president has already called it, compensate the farmers. He said those who bought that fertilizer, that didn't meet the standards, get the farmers compensated, all of them. The CS is saying, I can't tell you whether that fertilizer is fake or not. Give me more time so the ministry can come back and ascertain where we stand. So whose information do we take? And why is the president not reading from the same script with the CS? 2 minutes. Take us on a break.
First of all, you have to give kudos to the government. They have distributed 12.5 million bags of fertilizer. And this is the first time we're hearing of this matter. The year 2022-2023, they gave a seamless move of fertilizer going, and there was no issues about fake fertilizer. So I call this, part of the main problems that we have in the country, that, there's always going to be that 1 or 2 person who perhaps sleep on their job. And sleep on their job from the factory side to the packaging, and all that. But also we know there is a matter of counterfeiting. Maybe there's somebody in the supply chain, in the procurement of these companies, got in some fake fertilizer and branded it with the company's name. And that's why you see,
so
even though the government is saying there's a, wait, hold on. Even though the government is saying there's a problem, right? It's still allowing the investigators their time to investigate, because you do not want, and that's what Linturi did rightly, because that's an investigating committee, and so he's under oath, so everything he says, he has to be asked again. Why did you say this? And it hasn't been proven in court of law, or even nobody has been charged as yet by the DCI on this matter. So the other thing I would like to also point out very fast, and I do apologize to the people, is that what my friend here is part of, I think, is Akina Uhuru Kenyatta's people. You can really see by the venom, they are still not healed. by the fact that William Samoei Ruto took down the great Uhuru Kenyatta.
In fact, if
I
say Adam Ruto's was a Ruto guy.
Yeah, but now it seems he was a Ruto guy, but now it seems like he's gone to that other side. Okay, so I'm clearing my point. So what I'm saying is that you can clearly see the David and Goliath story here, because William Samoei Ruto was one who was undermined and looked down upon. But everything about his leadership has got a 10-star, from foreign affairs to how things are running domestically, political situation in the country. So the former leadership was notably known for the 3 S's, which are the slander, used to slander a lot of people, swindle a lot of people, and also slaying. There used to be a lot of slaying around the former government. But what we have with William Samoei Ruto's government, which my brother is painting here, is we have a government of reforms, a government which is really coming up with reforms. You see, before we were paying subsidies to unga maize millers. How can we be paying subsidies for consumption?
No,
now the subsidies are going for maize, I mean for fertilizer. Don't interject. Yeah, the other one is regains. We are regaining back. The Kenya shilling had fallen. Now it's regaining its position globally, right? And then the last one is recovery. We are recovering our economy. And that has happened in 19 months, Kenyans. Recovery. So do not listen to these noisemakers and some media people I don't want to mention. But stick focused and you'll see Kenya is going to places.
Pretty much. Guess what? Once we come back then, we're going to talk about some reforms that might not just be working. The education sector, that 70% of Nairobians would prefer to take their kids to private schools. Guess what? A report by the Ministry of Education also said that some public schools in Nairobi heavily underutilized. Guess what? Kilalashwa, Lavington Primary, what you expect would have good facilities. If you visit that school today, it's up to standard. But guess what? But the same report also, and I'll be showing you those pictures now, is that when you look at some schools in this country, my God, Yadaiga, it is mud walls, no doors, absolutely nothing. That even putting learners in that particular class, they might die because those walls are actually falling on the students as we speak. So once we come back, we'll mention that as a bigger conversation for us this morning, and also talk about what's happening in UDA. Looks like Musalia Mudavadi is going to join UDA. Why and how that is going to change party politics. We'll mention that quickly once we come from this break, and then get into our bigger conversation this morning. This is The Morning Drift. My name is Elijah Charles Kenya here with Dogman and Gadaiga.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
University of Nairobi is a distinguished institution of higher learning dedicated to nurturing your intellectual curiosity and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. From state-of-the-art laboratories to modern libraries equipped with the latest resources, we provide you with the tools you need to succeed. Choose from a wide range of programs designed to prepare you for challenges of tomorrow's world. Whether in STEM, humanities, business, or the arts, our strong industry connections and career service support will help you translate your education into meaningful career opportunities upon graduation. Join a vibrant community of scholars from around the world, fostering cultural exchange, collaboration, and lifelong friendships. Book your space now for September intakes. Log in to https://www.uonbi.ac.ke for a wide range of courses to choose from. You can also contact +254 020 491 0000 or email us at pr@ounbi.ac.ke.
Tuko hapa Kaptara, tunataka kusema asante sana RUTO Foundation kwa mambo mazuri ambayo wameweza kutufanyia leo. Wakaaji wa hapa Kaptara, wakaaji wa hapa Salawa, wakaaji wa hapa Mujukuo, mpaka wakaaji wote ambao wanatoka hapa Baringo County.
Naambia RUTO Foundation asante kwa kazi nzuri wanayofanya. Mungu awabariki.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Pretty much. Good. All right. Let's talk about other issues this morning, man, with a Dogman and Gadaiga here on our set this morning. Well, it was rumored a long time ago that UDA's vision was to be a super party. In fact, one of the reasons that's why Clovis Malala came under so much scrutiny within the party is when it fronted a motion that all the parties that are domiciled within the larger coalition party, that is a Kenya Kwanza, would essentially fold to form UDA party, which would essentially make it among the biggest parties in the country. Good. Guess who's taking that route? This morning, the Daily Nation has it. Musalia might finally fold ANC to join UDA. The ramifications is what we talk about this morning. All right, Dogman, I want to take your sentiments on this. That indeed, it is true now, Musalia has decided. But the only question we can ask about this, that if he decided to fold that particular party, who becomes uncomfortable within the party? Because party members were opposed to this particular move.
You know, at this point, Simba, the party members have no say. He's the kingpin. So I can move, they need to move with him. But what I'll say now, at this point, if Musalia, you have seen a governor for Meru, he's already in the bus. If Musalia joins UDA, which I know he will join, I would say they are all same thing, you know, and that's what we are trying. Wacha waingie pamoja. I think we also need Kalonzo in this bus also. We need to fix Kalonzo to join these people so that when it comes to 2027, to a pig serious. We don't need this group anymore. This is the problem of Kenya. Why? Wanashikana. Now for Musalia to join UDA, there was a very big discussion. There was a plan, and not plan for now. That Musalia, his eyes in 2027. Okay? So he's not planning for now. So that means if these guys are still planning for 2027, you know that we are getting this fake fertilizer. These guys, they are planning on their future, not about us. So what we need to do is, if we can convince Samurai to call Kalonzo to join that boat, and 2027 we need, I think, a new political wave, someone with ideas, not a businessman, someone who will take us, you know, at the end of it all, it's still coming, it's still boiling down to tribal. Because now I think Musalia joining the UDA, it's because now in the western region, there's a lot of war, or for kingship, as you're speaking. We have the governor, we have the speaker, and now we have this guy. So for him joining here, I think he's trying to safeguard the future. Now what we need now, as Kenyans, we need also to have our own political move now. I think we need to have a female president, I think. Why not? We can have a youth president. Why not? Because now what we are seeing, our wote ni wazai. Na hiyo design wanashikana, there will be no future in this country.
I want to ask you this question before we then jump into our major discussion this morning. The observation has been there. You and I do know very well that once in 2022, once Cleophas Malala floated his idea that all we want to do, and they called it, want to paint the country yellow, then he floated this idea that now, with the way it's going to be, if we want to be a super party, we can't be a coalition party. We got to be the major party. So can we fold up and form one party? It was an idea that was met with a lot of animosity. In fact, that's when his popularity within the party essentially just started dwindling. A lot of speak about what is Cleophas Malala saying, because you couldn't envision telling the coalition brothers, the likes of Moses Wetangula, the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, to fold up their parties that are older than UDA, to form the major UDA party. It looked something that you can't fathom until now. All of a sudden now, Musalia looks open to folding up ANC. He said last weekend, a couple of things that you guys are asking me, I will tell you that in due time. You know, looks as if he's ready to fold ANC. But there's a conversation point around that. That in between that, it opens up to, so what? Because all of a sudden, your party constitution is getting challenged. Because if I fold, and it's something, I mean, that's how politics goes, and we've seen it in the country. Van Musalia is as a result of the support that he gave the president in the 2022 elections. I joined, so party to that, this is what I give you for delivering that election. Good, and we do understand that. Just like Dogman is saying, this is in preparation for 2027. I mean, this is 2027 politics that we're saying. Could you kindly make sense to us? Who does Musalia threaten? Because that opens up to look into the deputy positions within UDA that have caused trouble within the party. As we speak now, there are people, including Rigathi Gachagua, who want the constitution changed of UDA party to reflect the national constitution, where in reality you have one deputy party leader and one party leader. So locking out any other person who might have ambitions to topple the current deputy party leader. Could you make sense to us from all those angles that I mentioned to you this morning on why all of a sudden Musalia Mudavadi is softened his stance to fold the ANC?
Thank you very much. It's a very good question that requires a lot of in-depth understanding on the political machinations in this country. Indeed, when we look at Musalia Mudavadi from the past, he's a very eloquent, very stable politician who has got a lot of experience in his hands. He has served 3 presidents. I don't think he served Uhuru, but he served Moi and also Moi Kibaki. So he's a leader who stands out to be up there at the echelon of leadership, and he's got a lot to contribute towards leadership. When you come, perhaps his political figure, he's a person who speaks on behalf of the Murembe nation, really, so to speak. He's the highest officer right now in government for the Mulembe nation, politically speaking. I'm not saying in hierarchy-wise, in terms of the speaker or Wetangula's position, but as for Mulembe, he is the uniting factor that also is supplemented by Wetangula. These two are like conjoined twins. If they separate, then they all lose their power. But in their unity, they're able to have a better bargaining yardstick. So I believe that Musalia Mudavadi also, he's right in having his ambition to even become the president of this country. He's been at the highest, deputy prime minister. So he's someone who is very well experienced. So for him, indeed, he should just put his act together, build upon more confidence, contribute a lot towards maintaining stability and unity in the Mulembe Nation.
Yes.
As you can see, there is a new force coming up, the third force, you would say, of Mulembe Nation, which is the governor of Natembeya of Trans Nzoia, who's also, dropping something into the woodworks, and it's causing a lot of tatters. So Musalia Mudavadi, being the senior most statesman in the Mulembe Nation, should be able to handle this. And if you've seen the way he's handled the foreign affairs docket, he's done it very well, seamlessly. So I believe he'll be able to galvanize and bring these people together so that they can speak in one voice. However, of course, it's rattling some feathers, not to say being balanced. UDA obviously is seeking to be a democratic party, which is now going to elect its officials officially. What we have is interim who have been subsidizing the organization politically, but we need now to have substantive Secretary General. We need to have chairmen. The branches need to be operative fully in order for UDA to really have my friend here who says he's also from UDA and he supported William Ruto, to have their voice in the political party. Because political parties, through the Political Parties Act, they play a major role towards democracy and people's voices being represented. Our representation is not only at the parliament level where we give our sovereignty to the parliamentarians to represent us. It is also at the political rights. You see, the political rights of an individual are enshrined in the Constitution. So it is also good for the party to undertake those elections and put in a democratic system. As you've seen before, Kenya has been a very polarized nation, where you have political party tribes, and which is actually against the. If you were to follow the Political Parties Act, we would find political parties are more of tribal movements. You'll find majority of members from this political party belong there. But that nonetheless, we don't want to linger on the negative or the weak side. We have to look at the positive. So now UDA has to structure a UDA that is unified. And indeed, the Constitution does provide to have different deputy party leaders. Several, or is it 4 of them?
3.
3.
Yes.
So if that's what the Constitution states, then that should be the manner, so that we give more people and the distribution of those seats, because again, we cannot change the reality of coming from a tribal ethnic perspective.
Yes.
Also, those cultural differences have to be put in place. So UDA's balance in cultural diplomacy is also going to be seen in this. And that's why you saw last week, the president himself visited the UDA headquarters together with the deputy president and all other top leaders. Another thing also, you have to remember there are parties like Jubilee, there are parties that are smaller parties which joined the fray, which were on the other side of Azimio. Where are you going to put them? They cannot also be outsiders forever. You have to now create space for them, you see, so that you can maintain those numbers. So I believe UDA is going to be the most balanced party with the full representation of the entire country. And it's now political, not showmanship, but like I always say here, it's about implementation. It's about delivery. If you're the deputy president of Kenya, when you promise Kenyans you're going to deliver, you better deliver on it, because they will hold you accountable for what you say. So even those others who, like Musalia Mudavadi, and those many others who also will be eyeing to be a deputy party leader, they also have to prove their worth. And right now, the deputy president has proved his worth. The prime cabinet secretary has proved his worth. And anybody else who wants to come and jump into the bandwagon, so that we can have a good political party as UDA.
Pretty much. Yes, but gentlemen, I'll be calling you so that we can table this conversation further. We're waiting for him to officially then announce and the format that is going to take. But now, for the sake of our conversation this morning, there's a conversation that we have to speak to this morning.
Yes.
Now, the Ministry of Education is realizing that 70% of the learners in Nairobi are essentially going to private schools. there's this view from parents that public education is not the way to go for their kids. And Dogman, when we looked at it, we started asking ourselves, what could be the questions for this one? I am not a parent myself, so we started looking at a couple of reasons as to a majority of parents would shun public schools in favor of private schools. There was something there that came out. There is this perceived, maybe to 70%, neglect from the national government to these public schools, where parents would look at it and say, because of that, I will prefer taking my kid to a private school in the city. And we're only speaking about the Nairobi because that's where the stats came out from. So it's correct to say that when it comes to primary education or lower level primary education, because primary education is not a thing that we're going to have anymore with the new education system, it is in the hands of private hands, that the government has got little say of that particular education. Do you agree that the government has neglected the public schools? What is not working in terms of public schools, especially in Nairobi? Dogman.
Thank you. That's a really nice question. I think, number one, I will agree. The government has completely neglected because, as we know, the government pumps a lot of money in the education sector.
Yes.
And if the government could have taken things a bit serious and we'll have nice systems to follow up on everything, I think this thing will be reversed. We'll have 70% in public school and 30% in private. But it's sad to say that 70% will go to public school. Why? Why am I saying this? I am a parent. I'm a father of 4.
Does it?
And I would say all my kids are in private.
So you're part of the problem then.
I'm telling you, you have to be truthful here, and I'll say why.
Yes.
I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Because I remember when I was young,
yes,
I schooled in a public school.
Does it?
Back then, we had very little private school. I think the 20% was private.
Yes.
80% was public school.
Yes.
Tulikuwa tunakutana na kina Githaiga, watoto wa Mabombe. We used to school with akina Githaiga. Back then, we never had, this private thing.
That's it.
But now, as you're speaking, you'll find out in the private school. Let's say, let me give an example in Mlolongo Primary School.
Yes.
I've visited that school severally.
Does it?
The last time I was there, but now they have these Mabati classrooms. The walls were falling down. Even the media had this. The walls were falling down. In each class, you couldn't find, even now I know, each class will find with approximate 80 to 100 kids. That's one class. And we have probably 4 streams. And 80 kids with one teacher. You can imagine. Some kids are down, some... In fact, in Mlolongo primarily, I remember parents used to pay for your kid to have a desk. You understand? You pay for your kid to have what? A desk. So me as a parent, and I consider education, when I go there, I would prefer to take my kid to a private school.
Does it?
Where he or she will get that personalized education.
Yes.
You understand? So if the government really had education as its priority, could have had very good channels and system whereby if it channels the money to these public schools, you have a system to follow up everything. Because you find the government will channel money to these public schools, but nothing is happening. Probably this money before gets to that public school, it has been pocketed with some funny guys, I think that's the big problem. If we have channels, and systems to follow up, hizi pesa zinatumagwa kwa shule, si ndio? Zinafikaga? Zinafanyanga ile kitu zimetumwa zifanye? No. What happens? I can't afford to take my kid to a public school, bado into a private school, nitamsukuma pale. There are 70 kids. Now tell me, brother, even if you are Mr. Simba, you are a parent, let me just give you 40 kids. How would you control 40 kids? Children. Nonata, we are getting problem. Me and Yedega, you can't control sometimes. Tell me, 40 kids, bro. You see? Now that's the problem. If the government, and you know, when we voted for this UDA government, these are the promises. Samurai alituambia. You know, he promised us about the education system, how we'll better off these things. We knew akieka sword chini. In a class of 40, we'll have that. Because this money that is being channeled, it's a lot. In the education system comes number what?
It actually comes number one.
Number one? Yeah. More than security. And now we are here talking about 70%. You know, it's really funny. So according to my views, it's the government needs to have proper system and channels.
Here's the thing, Gedaiga. But I will now ask you from the most basic of points. If you really go to my village, and I'll tell you what, there's a school that essentially caught headlines one time when, I'll call it because we covered that story heavily in the media, called Nyakemincha Primary School. It's a name that every other Kenyan essentially remembers from just a couple of years ago, that had almost 90% of the students failing in that school. It's like all of them had E's in the national exam. That was like, how is it possible that a school could perform like that? Let's go there and actually get to see it. It was in a deplorable state.
Yeah.
Mud walls, no security for the kids. When you ask yourself, what is the infrastructure of the schools, you wonder, how do you even start teaching these kids? Yadaiga, to date, in the public education sector, we do have kids who learn under trees. We covered stories last year of where it's so hot in some parts of this country, especially the northeastern part of this country. And so the best thing that you gotta do, you can't put kids in that classroom, put them outside under a tree and teach from there. Yadaiga, I don't want to mention names in the negative light this morning. We've had senators who walked into mud-walled classrooms to teach kids. And the only reason they walked in there is just to see how students are able to learn in such a kind of a state. They themselves are bewildered. Is there neglect from the government when it comes to the education sector in this country, especially lower level education in this country? Now, the latest headline, Gedaiga, is that schools are to close a week earlier. Public schools are to close a week earlier. Why? That capitation that's supposed to take them to the end of that term didn't come. So their teachers, well, guys, gotta go a week earlier because we don't have money to sustain you in school. Is that neglect?
Let me talk about this matter and try and, at least my friend sees that we're talking sense, but he's making a joke out of it. But he's a good guy. However, the misnomer has to be, demystified. First of all, would like to thank the government of His Excellency William Samoei Ruto for, in the budget of 2023-2024, 30% of the national budget went to education. That's about total of about 630 billion Kenya shillings. Kenyans, 630 billion Kenya shillings. This was almost a 5% increase from the 544 billion for year 2022-2023. So that is a proven fact that the Kenya Kwanza government is investing heavily on education, and therefore the taxpayer is investing heavily on education, and shows the emphasis of the promises that His Excellency William Samoei made to Kenyans on reforming and bringing a change in the education sector.
Yes.
And also that's about 4.3% of our GDP that is going to education. So that means in that education sector, there is a lot of money that is floating within that sector.
Yes.
That is benefiting very many Kenyans. For example, when we come to production of books, because government is providing books for learners in schools, in public schools, which is not in private schools. And these are some of the advantages that the government schools have over the private schools. But I refute that 70% figure to be wrong and misguiding, because that cannot be the true percent of students going to private school. Private school can never have the majority of students at any given time.
In Nairobi?
Not even in Nairobi or even in New York, anywhere in the world. Public school always has that capacity. However, I don't want to lose my point. So that issue is clear. There is nothing like 70% of students going to public school, even in Nairobi. It cannot be the truth. But that's not what we want to focus on. What we want to focus on is now what His Excellency the President did immediately when he came in. And I want to remind my brother, maybe he has forgotten. Usisikize hiyo kelele sana. You know, too much noise can block your focus. He implemented the first ever CBC reform of eminent Kenyans, which gave recommendations to governments on how the education system needs to be changed, where he got Kenyans from all sectors of society, including your boda boda and your mama mboga, were part of that, if you remember very well, were part of giving their views. And that committee also went further and held public participation, where the public came and gave their views through a memorandum, and they were given opportunity to present their memoranda and answer certain questions that the committee of eminent had. So that is the first thing that you deal with reform. So when you're dealing with reform, the first thing you have to do is establish a good foundation. And the good foundation is brought through such a sourcing of information from the public. Because remember, the Kenya Kwanza government won on the promise of the public to bring changes in the education system. So the first person the Kenya Kwanza government went to is the public. And the public gave their, I don't know my brother where he was, maybe he was a bit, alikuwa melala kidogo. But the public gave their views, and those views are what we are seeing happening today. So the first part of the education reform is having a good foundation. So now today, we have a good foundation. Unlike the past governments who were investing heavily on education, but we could not see where this money is going. And so what the reforms that has happened, which has brought a lot of ruffles or has brought a lot of heat, is the issue of the one government policy. As you know, the Kenya Kwanza government is a responsible government that is there to serve the mwananchi at all times. So this matter of education was part of the one government policy, and one government policy in its reforms, part of it was digitization of the education system. As we move into the curriculum-based, competency-based system, you also have to put in technology and bring in digitization, which makes it easier for learners to learn without the dependency of an individual. Why? Technology is supposed to give us solutions. Right now, we have very few numbers when we look at the numbers of classroom, numbers of teachers per student compared to the global United Nations standard. We are struggling a lot. But by the inclusion of technology, competency-based, students will now learn new skills to be more independent and to have acquired skills of self-learning, which were not there in the old system. So these reforms is what His Excellency William Samoei Ruto and the Ministry of Education is championing. Let us move now to the e-citizen. As I've said earlier before, Kenyans, the government of Kenya invests 30% of that money in the education system. And that is what the subsidizes when you hear free secondary, free primary, and also being able to have learning tools and equipment that aid students to pass their exams and also have a better future. We are talking about e-citizen. E-citizen was introduced, but there was a lot of noise made. And some of this noise was being made, and I was here on this station saying that indeed when you're fighting cartels, they are the ones who make the loudest noise. In high schools and in primary schools all over the country, while the government was giving 30% of its budget or the national budget to education, there were some head teachers and boards of management for school that for over the last 20 years have corrupted that system, whereby even if education is free, they end up charging the mwananchi one way or another. And they are the ones who are giving reasons like, unajua si tumezoea kulipa na ndo maana ngwashe. So how are you going to pay e-citizen? Right now today, e-citizen is the only way of transparency. So that whatever money that parents were paying and complaining and blaming government, now they know who the culprits are. So therefore, parents, you have seen the benefits of the e-citizen and the benefits of Kenya Kwanza government investing the highest amount of 600 billion in the history of the budget in Kenya. So the Kenya Kwanza government is doing that, but not only that, Kenyans. The thing that the media doesn't inform you, and until people like us come and speak in these stations, and we do appreciate, is the president the other day said that they are constructing over 2,000 classrooms. The government has put, I think, 2 billion, 3 billion, maybe 6 billion in the coming budget, in the supplementary budget, to supplement the construction. And he said this when he was in Nairobi in Bahati constituency, Bahati, Makadara Bahati ward up in Nairobi CBD, you know Bahati, Eastlands, where even Bahati, that area does not have a secondary school. So he was talking about they are going to increase the allocation of CDF, because CDF also constructs classrooms. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm trying to reach to the point that this government is also looking into the infrastructure. My brother rightly said here, indeed, a lot of parents are feeling that the infrastructure is a challenge and the numbers are too high to cater for the infrastructure that is provided. But the government is doing something. If the faith-based schools construct 2,000 schools, as the government policy has been set, private schools construct 2,000 schools, and government schools construct 2,000 classrooms, those are a total of 6,000 classrooms. Indeed, education will be available. But just to touch on the matter of private schools, and this also, I'm sorry I'm taking a bit of time, but education, as much as we invest in it, is what as much as we need to put our minds in it. Because this is a sector that makes the minds of our young people and how the future will be. If you look at the education system of any country, it can clearly tell you the future of that country. And Kenya's future is bright because we are on time. Even though we delayed with the computer program, laptop program, but I'm sure His Excellency is going to put that. What I'm trying to conclude is this, yes, that in Kenya, if we can be able to demystify why private schools came in and the conspiracy behind this, and I've said this on this show, majority of heads of teachers who are in secondary schools, when government schools were struggling, abandoned government schools and went to form private schools. If you look at most of the head teachers of private schools or directors, they were former government head teachers. And so they knew the gaps in government schools and went and gave the alternative. But yes, let us, as people of Kenya, let us give the government confidence to ensure that we have a similar education system and even better than the private schools.
Here's what stands out. I just wanted to bring to your attention that the person who admitted that 70% of Nairobians or students are going to private schools is the education CS. Ezekiel Machogu was appearing at a parliamentary committee just to give an update of the state of education within the country and the city as well. He said 70% of them are going to private schools, to the point that majority of the public schools that are domiciled within Nairobi, now they have very few numbers. Some of them are struggling to attract students to their schools. They went right ahead and gave examples of Kilelesho Primary, Lavington Primary Schools, where the numbers are way less than the facility can accommodate. So the school has got more space, but parents are choosing not to take their kids to these public schools. Now, on that as well, this is the Minister of Education that you're speaking. Number two, that for a very long time in this country, private schools have always performed better than public schools. Every other national exam that we get to into this country, we'll see the majority of the leading schools on average are private schools. That public schools struggle to get to the level of private schools. Number three as well, I want to bring to your attention that even as we celebrate the capitation that the education ministry gets, it takes the share of the line budget every other financial year, you'll find that when you start now breaking down these monies to what it really means, Dogman, it's only 7,500 shillings. By the way, it's just in 2022 when school head teachers were fighting to have the capitation for each other student per term to be increased to 7,500 shillings. 7,500 shillings essentially reflects what you can do in this particular economy. Dogman, is that why it is that 7,500 shillings per se in this economy is not going to do much in terms of improving the quality of education for the students in public schools. 7,500 shillings. And that capitation sometimes it delays. We've seen head teachers announcing that we have a delay in capitation from the government. So majority of them run out of, they were calling it, last year in 2022, gas. 7,500 shillings. That, yes, we can talk about construction of classrooms, very, very important just to make these learners comfortable so we can attract parents to take their kids to the schools. But if you're going to retain that capitation at 7,500 shillings, the quality of education that the kids are getting then is going to be way less or of quality than what the counterparts in the private schools are getting. And you as a parent, Dogman, you do know very well that if you're going to pay 7,500, a school that is asking you for 7,500 shillings a term is not up to the standard that you would want it to be, the ability of that school to deliver.
Sure, very true. Number one, Simba, let's talk about performance, because that's everybody, that's the peak. You want your kid to perform.
Yes.
If the government allocates 7,000 for each kid, and this money sometimes we delay, that becomes a problem. You have 80 kids in one class. The money that, the gas, so-called gas, the gas you're expecting to fuel you, it's not there.
Yes.
That's a big problem. After you'll find yourself, you don't have the psyche and the morale to work. So number one, to go back to the performance, as you can see nationally, when we announce the results, the private sector always is on top. I think even with 70% or 90% is the kids come from the private sector. So that one will answer us a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Because number one, I would say education is key. For you to get quality education, as a parent, number one, you'll have to do a survey. You'll wake up one day, go to Kileleshwa Primary, see.
There are no students, eh?
Yes. I'll see who's here, where's the teacher? I want to bring my kid in Kileleshwa Primary. Then after that, opposite Kileleshwa Primary, there's like a private school. As my brother said, it's very true, I agree with him. The former, there's just a teacher from Kileleshwa Primary School. Probably said, this is enough for me. I see an opportunity here. Went ahead and opened a school. Just opposite the other side. And all these parents, when they go to this private school, they get this attention. See your kids sitting here, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's this system.
There's already a marking scheme for that is not working, isn't it?
Thank
you
just
take it over the other side.
You just see it's written on the on the wall. So there's no need of me going blah blah blah. So what I'll do as a parent, I will agree to go that extra mile to pay this private school than taking my kid to this school. Now what will happen? Now let's say we are using Kileleshwa. I've not been there. The primary school. You should. You should pass. I will pass there. When I'm out of there.
They're closed. Yeah, I know. You can
now, what happens in Kileleshwa? Now the teachers in Kileleshwa, what will happen? We don't have enough students. So why should I come every morning? What's the need? So what will happen? We will go back to the friend who opened this school here. Part-time work. I have that enough space, enough time. Now, me, I took my kids to Kileleshwa Primary. And the teacher who's supposed to be taking care of my kid, the gas is not gassing. And now, the teacher, because there's no gas, why am I staying here? Is it worth? nimeitiwa, there is a kanini there.
Unalipa vizuri?
Oh, yes. And you know, me as a parent, end term, we are called with your kid and being shown performance. Ambua, sir, this is the performance of your kid, did 1, 2, 3. But in Kileleshwa Primary, do they call the parents? No, these are the things now as a parent.
That said, on that particular issue as well, I mean, we also looked at it as well, Gedaiga.
Yes.
That on average, a private school teacher in this country will be paid twice better than a teacher in a secondary school. That it is what it is.
Public primary.
Private primary.
Yes.
Private, yes.
Private primary. They'll pay twice better
even
than
twice.
the one in a public government school. Good. On that basis alone, so you find that these private schools are attracting quality teachers than a public school is going to attract. Currently as it is, even currently, the government is running on intern teachers in this government schools because of their inability to raise a capital to employ these teachers. So when it comes to these good teachers looking for employment, they would rather not go public, they go private.
Yes.
And guess who knows that? That the private sector knows that there's a challenge there. Even the remuneration is a problem because the amount of money that's going per kid is 7,500 shillings, and that you gotta factor in how much we're gonna pay this teacher, and before you get to even get promoted in this country, it's also an issue because there've been issues of promotion of teachers in this country with unions fighting for that. So they rather move to the private sector. That, on the face value, it is already 10-0 for private schools when you give them a chance to compete with public schools, and they're gonna keep on drawing more students as time goes by because the government is not dealt with our overheads. One, remunerate teachers better so that you can compete with the private schools in this country. Number two, yes, even as you're talking about these reforms in the education sector, the CBC and all that, they are heavily reliant on other underlying issues. On paper it looks fantastic, but the implementation is already an issue. Currently as we speak, you and I do know very well that majority of teachers were running away from the new education system. They were transferring their kids into different education systems because there was a challenge of capital for implementing this new education system. What is the way out? Because private schools are going to keep on winning, and the Ministry of Education looks as if they're at a hard place now. There's no way to wriggle themselves out of it.
You see, let me try and demystify again, like I did the first time, and I'm glad that my comrade here accepted the fact that, you know, majority of these private schools, how they started from a gap that was identified in the 844 system, where the education system had collapsed after the old regime, and then it was good as well when Kibaki came in 2003. He made it free. But again, that was a major challenge because even though we won awards for, you know, that transition of people going into primary school and it's free education, I think there was a Morage award-winning movie was acted on his behalf, being the oldest student in history in Kenya. However, these same teachers or head teachers who formed these private schools capitalized on other gaps that were there. The other gap they capitalized was the human labor of teachers. They knew very well government was never ever going to be able to pay the teachers the well government, you know, these teachers are trained in government institutions. Government has invested in those institutions to train these teachers. So these head teachers knew, because this government will not be able to pay, let's increase our salary to create a gap of that capacity, so that majority of the qualified teachers within the system get more attracted to private schools. And they won that battle. And private school was deprived of qualified teachers. And you rightly said, even till today, it's never recovered. It's never recovered. We are relying on interns, not proper qualified teachers. So again, it calls about our patriotism. How far can we go to destroy an education system so that you can make money? You know, these private schools also talk about motors and integrity and high values.
Are they destroying it?
No, what I'm saying, they talk about these high values. But when the tough gets going, we realize that indeed, if the government of Kenya is paying 7,000 capitation, and it is enough to provide that student with all the textbooks, isn't it? All the apparatus in that school, okay, at least to a certain degree. To a certain
maybe
degree.
70%.
70%.
Yes.
Let's say 70%. I've seen the challenges. You can even see the challenges because of the numbers. And that's why you see there's a lot of cry around for bursary. You know, like the numbers in certain constituencies.
And the increase of capitation as well.
And the increase of capitation.
On that by itself, just on that, I'm going to let you clear point. On that by itself, is it destroying or just doing what the government can do?
No, you see, what I'm saying, we can capitalize, like now the people who are making alcohol, right? They're capitalizing on those gaps that we don't have a proper mechanism for manufacturing, for quality checks on our alcohol industry. It's still out there. You know, even right now, 24 companies are not sure of whether they're going to get their license or not. Because Kenya Kwanza government is trying to deal with this matter. So the only way, because Kenya is a free state, it's a capitalist country where you can run your business as long as it's legal and it's not harmful to anybody. And when kudos to the private sector, because indeed they have provided a very good quality education to our Kenyans. But now, as a Kenyan, the right in the constitution for education, but not just any education. Let it be quality education. And so Kenya Kwanza government, I know you have a hard challenge, but I have seen the way His Excellency works. He deals with the foundation first, and he's now dealing with that. And then now he's bringing the reforms of that money that parents pay for school fees. Can it be accounted for? We cannot trust anymore the head teachers, considering even what they did to bring down the collapse of the government schools to a certain extent when they got into that business, because they were the most talented. They're the ones who could run schools. So when we lost people who could run schools, you know, obviously the schools went down. You understand? But we're not blaming them. We're just saying now, government step up, kudos to you, collect that money so that that money can be reinvested again in the capitation that you're saying. You know, that money now, government can account for. We collect 8 billion from schools. And this is how we will use it in the next financial year.
Here's a question that I saw yesterday on that story. Somebody said, hold on. Those are parents who are saying public schools are not working in this country. If we're operating at a capacity of 70%, if we're going to go by Gadaiga's numbers, that what the government can do in terms of that capitation for the students, in terms of providing for the students, you know, getting electricity into the school, getting water into the school, enabling these kids to even have lunch in the schools is a thing that I've seen even county governments try and pick. Somebody said, is it ever possible to also start saying, let's devolve education? So then it's easier than to say, this issue of struggling with mud wall classrooms, let's give the county government this money so they can develop the schools by themselves. Or somebody said that in that CDF kitty that we're giving to majority or members of parliament, and they're fighting to fully control it, that it should come under law that a certain percentage of that kitty is supposed to go into development of these public schools. Because one of the biggest challenge, again, that has been earmarked in this is infrastructure. That when you look at the infrastructure for private schools vis-a-vis public schools, it is worlds apart. That once you start solving that, then step by step, if you start talking about capitation and proper remuneration of teachers, then you are solving it. Is it ever possible for us to say, kindly, if you can, devolve education, the way we're trying to find solutions around health? Health currently is 90% devolved. Government is only dealing with 10%. So let government deal with policy in education, but the running of the schools then goes to the counties. So that It's easier for counties to be audited on the basis of the strength of their public schools. That is easier. That is easier to have solutions at the county levels as opposed to the national levels.
I agree, Simba, because I remember some times back we had the Nairobi governor having a very good program. I think before he was elected,
Yes.
had a very good program on the public school.
The one for lunch for the
For
kids.
lunch,
It's
remember?
actually going on. It's actually going on. Yeah.
That means that's showing us that it's something applicable, it's something that can work for the county government. Because as Mr. Kidega is talking here about the e-citizen, okay, changing from, I agree with him for up to some level, that the e-citizen, it's helping, kinda, but again to some level I don't agree with him, because as we are speaking now, mashinani, let's talk about mashinani. Uko ndani kabisa. We have this parent who's not digitalized, doesn't know about anything about e-citizen or, you know. How will he pay his school fees? If we we devolve this thing, the education sector, to go to the county, that means we'll have the county responsible for everything. If the audit comes, we can know who never did what and who did what. But now, as you're speaking, the e-citizen, I think for me, number one, it's the biggest scam. It's someone's business. As it's alleged, there's some money already lost in the e-citizen, I hear. So we don't trust that system. And it will be better for us as a nation if we devolve this education thing to the county. I agree with you, to the county level. Because as Mr. Kidega said, there is in Bahati, you don't have a high school. It's really alarming. Because if in Bahati you don't have a high school in that place, comfortably if you go to the MCA, we'll send you to the MP. You go to the MP, we'll send you to the senator. The senator will send you to the governor. The governor will say, hiyo ni kazi ya nani?
National government.
National government. That's what happens. But if again now we bring this responsibility to the county, as what we are doing with the health sector, I think we'll have solved this problem 60%. Because the people themselves, they will know which governor is working and which governor is not working.
On the basis of mad.
We can see, yes. We had a mad school here, now we have this structure here. This school was performing this way, the governor did 1, 2, 3, you know, we can hold these people responsible. But as we are speaking now, we are still in the same old system. So I'm not expecting anything new to come from this government, from the education system.
We have only 2 minutes left for this particular conversation. I'd like us to clear like this. NTSA is back on the road together, and we thought that this was going to be the magic bullet to stopping the road accidents that are currently ongoing. Today, again, we start with very sad news that we've lost 8 people this morning. 2 days before that, we lost 7 people, and all belonging to one family. Those are 15 in just a span of what? A week. Currently, as it is, if you look at the numbers, we're at 2,000. We normally get to around 5,000 each year. And Gadaiga, I mean, when we say these numbers, people just don't imagine them, that we have a country that year after year, we have 5,000 people losing their lives on the roads. Have we normalized it? Because the countries you go to, like Dubai, if you lose one person in a road accident, you even see an entire cabinet secretary say, okay, I resign. It's my bad. How is it possible that at a time when we're trying to find the solutions, that's when we're losing more people? It took up to the KU bus accident. That's when we said, okay, NTSA back to the roads, let's go back to the road and start proper survey. But then immediately after that, it's accident after accident. I mean, I'll take you back. 3 weeks ago, we lost 10, we lost 7, we lost 8. It's a lot. We're losing count. 15 seconds, as a country, what we need to do, because this is another killer that nobody's talking about the way we should be talking about it.
Thank you. Just a bit talk about that education plan for the county.
Dozo.
Indeed, I would like to recognize Governor Sakaja for such a momentous task that he took upon himself. And unlike what it was before in his former government, where they would give power to the national government.
Dozo.
So that is a good example that can be tried all over in the country, so that the issue of children being hungry and giving them affordable quality food. But on this side of accidents, it's very dear to my heart, because I lost my elder brother in 2012 through a road accident. Very tragic. And I tried to do something called Smile for Tomorrow Foundation, but I found it very difficult to do it on my own. So first thing, I believe that this matter of road accidents needs a public-private kind of partnership, whereby government puts together a board, an advisory board, which you can also have an association of victims of road accidents, people who have suffered from it, so that they can be able to advise the government on what to do. At the same time also, we need to have a mind change training for drivers. Because when you go to Dubai and other countries, in Europe there are also accidents, and US there are a lot of accidents. The mind change is something that we need to take in course. For example, when you're told don't use your phone when driving, please don't use it. When you're told don't drink and drive, please do not drink and drive. When you're told to rest while you're driving on long haul, please rest. Because that decision determines whether we continue losing our Kenyans. And therefore we call upon the president to set up a national advisory committee that will be advising the government, private sector, and everybody else, so that we stop losing Kenyans through accidents.
15 seconds, Dogman. What is the way out? 15 seconds.
I think the way,
play your bet.
I think the way out is, number one, is for us rectifying the system, the police system, because us, as the black people, we have that mindset whereby hata ikifanyika, I can get out of this. I can. As I was coming here, I almost had an accident because this guy was driving and was on his phone, and everybody's on rush. So, kidogo tu, I could not, another story. So, if we change the system out there, and we have, we try and eliminate, we can't have all corrupt police out. But if we can be able to rectify the system, whereby I know very well, if I'm caught up in such a scenario, there is no hongo, it's direct to court. I will avoid. And our mindset completely will change.
That's it. Yes. Pretty much. Gentlemen, I'll call you on this particularly because the numbers are alarming. I keep on saying, look at them. Last week, we had a conversation here in the studio where we said that if you have a motorbike accident, 70% of people fatalities. It's only 30% who come out with minor injuries. So think about that. This morning we've lost 8 as well. My God, all in one van. Jesus, when is it going to stop? That's 2,000 plus already. We're in April.
A lot.
Jesus. Guess what? At Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simbalaja Charles Kiaga. This morning I was with Gadaiga and Dogman. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking to you this morning. Take them online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag continues. Morning Drift. I'll see you tomorrow for another edition. Goodbye. By the way, hiyo story accident.
Norma.
Ni normal. By the
na sio zote zinaripotiwa.
No.
Yesterday we had a crazy accident. In Mlolongo. It was a truck and
we value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through